Okay, so let's see if I can make this fairly quick. There is more than one way that you can generate these little cards. You could, if you wanted to, try out, and this will be a lot of steps and maybe some research, but maybe you know about it. Adding in a little hair particle system into the ears. I'm going to go with a sort of old school way, which is I just have a Bezier curve here, and I'm just going to be manually placing a few of these into various spots on the ear. Now you're going to see I already have in the curve data properties a little bit of an extrude. You can see I've already scaled it down. I do have one extra point I added in the middle. So that's the general idea, and I'll ultimately be just placing these and then converting them to geometry or to meshes. So I typically like to sort of have a little library here, meaning I'm just going to leave this one as is, but just duplicate it and then just move it. Oops, let me just make sure that this is set to global. There we go, let's try it again. So move it over, and then I can just, position it however I want it. So maybe I'll just rotate it in the z-axis, and I'll just position a few of these things and then move on to the next step. If I want, I can add in some twists to these things. I can rotate these things. But basically I'm just creating these sort of little planar things like that, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just grab again this one, put it in position, and the idea is just to kind of create some variation to angles. You can even create some variation to the scale if you want to these things. And if you're talking about sort of stylized hair, you really don't need that many of these things. I'll make one more of those. Okay, let's work with that. Again, I'm not bothering with like any additional shaping of these things. Just wanted to give you an idea that you could. All right, now also you should I should note that I created a just simple hair texture here. And the idea is these are just going to be little sort of clumps. If you want, you don't have to put much in the way of sort of shaping or curvature to these things, because you can get away with doing some of that in the actual geometry. And note that I have not only the color here, but I also, you can see, have the alpha set up for each of those hair clumps. So that's just ultimately what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be mapping each one of those hair cards that you just saw me place a moment ago onto one of these different ones to get a little variety. And you can make as a little texture sheet with as many of these clumps as you like, but you probably don't need more than a half dozen or so, if that. All right, so now that I've got these things, I should be able to object convert to, let me just save this actually, object convert mesh, there we go. And let's take a look and see what I've got here. So these do have a lot of geometry to them, so you can actually go back. Let me just revert that for a second. Should be able to go in back to these properties, and somewhere, I think it could be this resolution preview. If I decrease this to like, let's try 6 for each of these things, hopefully that's going to decrease the sort of number of polygons when I convert it. I forget whether this is the accurate thing, but somewhere in there. Oh, could be also, yeah, let's just see how that goes. So I can select them again, object, convert, mesh. That helped a little bit. Okay, so next up, need to spin UVs for these things. So I'm just going to go ahead. You can say I already created a material in Blender, just really quickly. It's just an image texture. There's my targa that you saw a moment ago. I simply connected the color into the color and the alpha into the alpha, and Blender now just automatically shows or figures out the transparency, so you don't even have to do any extra funny fancy stuff with like blending modes or anything like that, blend types. All right, so back to the UV editor. There's all this thing. I'm just going to go do a new unwrap for that thing. Actually, where is that? It's now called angle based. Great, there's that thing. If you want to use Mio 3 and gridify that, you can. And I'm just going to go ahead over here and switch to rendered, and so you can start to see what we got there. And then you can see simply going to move this and position it, oops, so it's sitting right on top of one of these little hair cards. And you know, see, sure enough, there's that little nice clump sitting there. So I'll just do it for the other two now. Edit mode, unwrap, there we go. Do the same thing for the other one. Great. And again, I can say take this thing over here. Oops, keep hitting the wrong button. Scale. If I want, I can even go with a little non-uniform scale like that. Okay. Looks like that one's upside down, so I can simply do a rotate in place. Now you can see that's looking good. And finally, this one. And maybe I'll just pop it over on this thing there. And again, you can see it's upside down, so I can just rotate that upside down in the UV view, and there you have it. So that's the general idea of creating these sort of little stylized hair clump cards.